Hey everyone, welcome to another interview on Hungry People, home of the Hungry People podcast. Today I have Doug Evans joining me. Doug, how you doing today?
I'm the best ever, AJ. Glad to be here.
Thank you for making the time and coming on. I'm so excited to have you here today. And could you just for a second explain where you're at right now? It looks really cool in there.
Yeah, right now I'm in my yurt, and I have a yurt near Joshua Tree on very precious land that has hot springs. And I do as much work out of the yurt as possible.
That sounds pretty epic. How long have you been doing that? Is that more of a recent thing?
I planted the yurt here about 3.5 years ago and kind of continue to beef it up and insulate it and make it more and more homey. And
It
still have,
looks it looks like you could lay on the ceiling and still feel comfortable.
yeah, it's insulated with recycled denim.
Wow. Have you do you have like neighbors and stuff, or you do have like a bunch of space to yourself?
We have a lot of land. Um,
Very cool.
there are neighbors, but in the community that I'm in, there's like 137 square miles with 600 people.
Awesome. How is the air quality? Pretty good, I guess.
Incredible,
I
incredible.
bet. Man, I noticed that when I went from Jersey, so condensed and everything, and when I flew out to Hawaii, I was like, this is fresh air. I'm sure it's very similar where you are. Just
Oh yeah,
so much space for people too. It's incredible.
yeah. I love the air. I love the nights. I love the really dark skies where you get to see all the stars shining brightly. So it's wonderful out here.
That's great. That sounds incredible. Well, I have a few things that I want to dive into right away, just because I want to be respectful of your time, and I also um, have to be somewhere as well after the interview. So why don't we get started? Sound good?
Sure, let's jump in.
Awesome. So just to take people back, I've been listening to Rich Roll's podcast, I think, since episode 1, which was like almost 10 years ago now, I think. And I remember the first time that he had mentioned this thing that I was like, damn, I'm definitely going to buy that. It was Juicero. I was so excited to buy a Juicero. And then I didn't end up ever getting one, but then I had it in my head. Like I'd never forgot the product. And eventually I think he did have you on talking about it. But then later on, he had you on and you were talking about sprouts. And I was like, I want to learn more about this because they seem very easy to do and they seem very nutritious. So I already had your name kind of in the back of my head. And then when I had watched your interview, I think it was a couple years ago, maybe 2 years ago now, I was like, okay, this stuff seems legit. And I started using the sprouts and I absolutely love them. I'm such a fan of the sprouts. I find them to be very nourishing. And at the same time, they don't feel very heavy and they don't feel very burdenous on my system. And I feel as though I'm having good blood flow and oxygen and just recover really well. So, Doug, you've been into sprouts for how long now?
Well over 25 years now.
Wow. Okay, 25 years. I remember the first time I had them, I was like, what is it? Like grass or something? But then I ate it and I was like, this is actually really nice. There's so many different varieties as well. How many varieties are you aware of?
I mean, every seed, every vegetable, right, and every fruit has to have seeds as their reproductive organ. So they need them. But pretty much every common vegetable that you can think of will ultimately have seeds. And many of those we never think about as food or as something to eat. So the common sprouts were the alfalfa sprouts and the mung bean sprouts. But if you were to fast forward on a bigger level, and what I do sprout and what I recommend is the alfalfa, azuki, arugula, radish, broccoli, clover, chia, lentil, fenugreek, hemp, all sorts of different peas. So there's many, many varietals, but basically seeds are designed to sprout and germinate as part of their reproductive process.
Got you. And do you have a particular sprout that you focus on, or do you try to get as much variety as you can?
I mean, the big insight that I had was that sprouts were vegetables and vegetables were food. Mm-hmm. And like with eating vegetables, you want variety, to develop a healthy microbiome. Mm-hmm. So as often as possible, I'm sprouting many, many different seeds simultaneously. And I tend to favor the regular consumption of broccoli sprouts.
It's funny you say that. I actually, before the interview, I had broccoli sprouts, lentil, and it's coming to me. Um, I think it was garbanzo beans. I sprouted, and then I had olives and vegetables, like a big platter of it. And it actually just, it feels as though I'm getting so nourished from it. And haven't had broccoli sprouts before. I really actually like those. And I've heard a lot of things about how the nutrition is actually amplified if you compare it to even the vegetable that you're referring to. Like for broccoli, the broccoli sprout I've heard has like much more nourishment in terms of different vitamins and minerals. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, basically, as a vegetable gets bigger, from the seed through the sprouting stage and the microgreen stage to mature vegetable, it's gaining more water and it's gaining more fiber, but it's not gaining more of the compounds that make broccoli sprouts famous, which are like the glucoraphanin, which are the precursors to sulforaphane. So the reality is that certain antioxidants get diluted as the plant gets bigger.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. Are you familiar with Brian Clement?
Yeah, of course, of
Yeah,
course.
so I've just been diving into him this last year or so, and it really impacted me to want to make it more a part of my diet as well, on top of your research and your information. But some of the things that I'm so curious about, because I don't know if you've heard of the Woodstock Fruit Festival, but I just came from there earlier this year. And when I was there, I was hanging around a lot of athletes, and we're going on long bike rides and burning up tons of calories. And I wanted to ask you, do you think that it's important to focus on calories when it comes to like intake of food, or are the sprouts meeting all of our needs and we don't have to eat as much necessarily? Like, is there a place for an athlete to include these and get enough fuel, or is this more just the side dish to get some nutrients in? Does that make sense?
Sure. I believe that sprouts have every benefit of the whole food plant-based diet. So everything that exists within mature vegetables exists within their sprouts. So from a level of like, could one survive on eating sprouts? I think the answer is yes, because sprouts have every major micronutrient, phytonutrient, polyphenol, bioflavonoid, prebiotic, probiotic, all the individual amino acids that form proteins, they're all in there. And so if you're eating a balance of sprouts, you can. Certain sprouts, like the garden variety, like the radish, the clover, the broccoli, are relatively light in calories. Other ones, like the garbanzo beans, are heavy in calories, but they're also heavy in proteins. So sprouted garbanzo beans, sprouted chickpeas, can have 25 grams of protein in one handful, like one cup, and
Wow.
hundreds of calories. So it's possible to get both your calories and your nutrients. There are things like sprouted flax and sprouted chia that you could get your omega-3s in, and you're getting them in a bioavailable format. So I think that you can certainly eat the sprouts. I love fruit, right? So I eat a lot of fruit
Right.
when available in season, because fruit is delicious. And so my diet is largely composed of sprouts, fruits, seaweeds, and that's about it.
Gotcha. So are you eating mostly like raw vegan diet?
I've been raw vegan for 22 years.
Really? I somehow either overlooked that or missed that. I'm not sure why.
Well, I mean, for the most of the greater population, that concept is incomprehensible. So my mission today is to talk about adding sprouts to one's diet, not focusing exclusively on sprouts, exclusively on vegan, or exclusively raw, because it's too much for people to handle, and it could be interpreted as polarizing. So
Right.
therefore, if you're hearing me talk, and I've done, a dozen or so of the major podcasts, I talk about why sprout, what is a sprout, how to sprout, what to do with the sprouts, when to eat the sprouts, sprouts for this and sprouts for that. But I don't want people to think that it's all or nothing. So
Mhm.
I would rather them eat one seed or one sprout than have an aversion to it.
Yeah, I completely get that. And I think that that makes a lot of sense because people are just going to feel overwhelmed if you're trying to throw too many things at them at once. And it really is such a good place to start. Like for me, coming from where I've came from the last couple of years, I've always been like, include a green juice, include a green juice. I don't care if you're carnivore, vegan, raw, whatever. Green juice seems to be universally beneficial kind of wherever you are in your stage of health. And I feel the same way about the sprouts. One more thing I wanted to add about that too is I feel as though like nuts and seeds are so nutritious, but how many times has a either raw vegan or a high carb person taken in a bunch of nuts, and when they've done that, they felt as though they have like a nut gut or something. But then when you're sprouting this stuff, it becomes so digestible,
Yeah.
and the enzymes are just incredible.
Yeah. I mean, the amazing thing that people don't know about sprouts is that you can eat seeds, you can eat sprouts on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, all the way up to day 7 or day 8. And after about a week, they then cross over where at that point they're turning into the next stage of vegetable. But in that first stage, sprouts contain within them everything they need but the water to grow. And that's mind boggling that you can grow seeds into sprouts without soil, without sunshine, without fertilizer. And the seeds and the sprouts are complete living organisms. So you're getting the enzymes and you're getting the endosperm, the embryo, the ovule, the testa. Like this is an incredible whole plant in its miniature form. And that's amazing. And you can grow them in days, not weeks, months, or years for pennies a serving. So that's like, to me, sprouts are something that everybody, from the poorest to the richest, can add to their diet and realize incredible health benefits.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And the way that we got into talking was you posted on a story recently. Are you eating sprouts? Are you sprouting? And if not, tell me why. DM me. And I DM'd you, and we got to talking a little bit. And I showed you my grocery cart, and you were saying you look like you're doing pretty well with what you're eating. But yeah, I hadn't ever actually grown anything. I hear all the time that it's so easy if you just try it. And I actually ended up trying it about 2 weeks ago now, and it's super easy. And for those of you interested, I'm gonna start making some videos about that as well. But it really just is that initial, yeah, just have to give it a try, and then oh my god, you have all this food for such pennies. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah. If you were to look at what's happening, and it's one of the reasons why I wrote the book, because I felt that before I wrote the sprout book, sprout information was dispersed and spread out, and I wanted to put it all into one place. And now that I did that, and the book is in the 7th printing, so the book is doing extremely well. People are sprouting who were you'd never suspect were interested in sprouting. People living in small apartments to people living in like 5,000 square foot mansions, and they're like sending me pictures of their sprout gardens in the house. And
Wow.
these, you even have their own gardens outside, but they're tuned in and turned on to the sprout consciousness.
There's always been something special about being able to grow something. And I feel as though, like you're saying, people in a mansion, they could just buy it if they wanted to, they have the money. But at the same time, when you grow something, it's really like something special. And when you can grow food, that just takes it to the next level.
Yeah. And also, and look, I think you always have to make your best decisions. So I'm not about this or that, right? It's about, okay, do your best you can. Like if I'm busy and I'm on the run, I would much rather grab some sprouts from a supermarket or health food store, right? Than grab a hot dog from a street vendor, right?
Right.
So, but given the choice, it doesn't take that much time to sprout on your own at home. And there's an incredible economic leverage. If you sprout on your own, like it's a good buy to buy sprouts in the supermarket for $3 or $5 or $7, but you go through them quickly. So if you're sprouting and you're using a large jar and you could get several cups of sprouts for the price that's half of what it would cost to get one in the grocery store, it's worth getting into the groove where you're constantly sprouting at home so you have access to fresh vegetables. And I think that's the insight. Sprouts are vegetables, and vegetables are good for you. So if you can grow your own vegetables, like that's the most amazing thing. Like, hello, you don't need a green thumb, you don't need a garden, you don't need to wait weeks, months, or years. You could buy the sprouting seeds, add water, and start to have edible food in a couple of days.
Yeah. And I think that what's incredible too is fruit is amazing, and being able to go and buy like some kind of organic lettuces or kales and stuff is really good. But when you try those sprouts, the freshness just makes it to where you're looking forward to that every time, because you're never really getting that buying anything else. But with those, it's so refreshing to have the fresh food, pun intended.
Yeah, no, it's really powerful.
It reminds me of when I was in Poland and I was having the vegetables there, and I was like, holy crap, I feel incredible eating these vegetables, when usually it was like a neutral effect, but I was having it right out of the garden in rich soil. And I feel the same way about the sprouts.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff to think about, that you get to control your own destiny, right? That's the point that I want to make with sprouts. And there's three ways I look at sprouts. Number one, I look at sprouts as food, right? Sprouts are vegetables, vegetables are food. Number two, I look at sprouts as vitamins and minerals. So rather than taking a supplement, that you could literally find out what you are deficient in or depleted in, and replete yourself and replenish yourself with that specific calcium or manganese or folate or B complex or C, by growing your own sprouts. So that's really powerful to have that ability. And a lot of people are taking protein powders, and like I have nothing against what people do, but the fact that you could take a handful of garbanzo beans and sprout them and get 25 grams of protein and hundreds of calories out of sprouted beans, which in addition to getting the protein and the amino acids, you're getting soluble and insoluble fiber, you're getting antioxidants, you're getting all of these other items that are working as a constellation of a perfect food, and not some synthetic extract part. So to me, sprouts are food, sprouts are vitamins and minerals. And three, sprouts are medicine. That if you step back and you look at the peer-reviewed published research, there are white papers around sprouts treating cancer, autism, Alzheimer's, diabetes, obesity, Parkinson's. Like there's studies about how broccoli sprouts can detoxify benzene from the lungs of smokers, how pea sprouts grown in the right condition can create DAO as a histamine blocker. That there's like the defense mechanism that keeps these plants alive for generations actually can become the partner with us for creating health.
So these things aren't going to work against us like they would repel, let's say, an insect or something. They can actually work for us.
Yeah, because we're not insects, right?
Right.
We're
yeah, exactly.
Right. And we have that. But what happens is those insects are similar to yeast, mold, fungus, parasites, other invasive characters and creatures in the body, right? Or the cells, and they have that effect when put to proper use. And I think we're just scratching the surface, of the research behind that. So I'm not giving any medical advice here. I'm encouraging people to open a conversation, speak to your doctors. My book has a lot of information. I interviewed many people for the book, including Brian Clement and Dr. Oz and Mark Hyman and Dean Ornish and Joel Kahn and Josh Axe, that all of these people have their own perspectives from functional medicine and keto and plant-based. And the thing that they all had in common was that they were all sprouters. They all loved sprouts.
I'll definitely be putting your book down below as well for the people that are interested in checking that out, and maybe a few of the interviews that you've had before so that people can find you on Instagram and stuff. I wanted to move to another topic that's very important to me because I've been involved with raw foods, not as long as you, but for about 7 or 8 years. And I've kind of seen all different spectrums of it, whether it's the detox, the herbs, the fruits, more greens, more protein, all different aspects. And I'm involved with groups. I run and host Dan McDonald, Life Regenerators Patreon group. So I'm involved with them and the Woodstock Fruit Festival, and it goes from there. But something I see a lot, and I want to see what your thoughts are, is that a lot of people are focusing really hard on the detox and really hard on the restriction and the depleting. And I feel as though the sprouts is such a good bridge between that because it's nourishing, but it also is cleansing. And have you seen this over the years being raw vegan? And do you have any insights that you would maybe shine a light on for people who are maybe struggling with gaining weight or being able to eat a healthy plant-based, slightly lower calorie by default diet, and how they can kind of build on some size and be strong and healthier? Because Doug, looking at you, it seems as though you're able to maintain a really good weight. You have very good looking teeth. You still have your hair, and overall you're looking really good. So you must know a thing or two about this.
Yeah, look, I think the thing is, if you're eating enough calories, you're, of pretty much any plant-based food, you're going to be doing well, right? So if you're eating enough calories, you're going to be well. The more variety you're eating, the better, because that diversity helps the microbiome and helps fill in the blanks, where there's deficiency or depletion. When a lot of people use food as medication, not as medicine, so they're self-medicating with food, and it's generally emotional. So there's a lot of emotional eating where someone, thinks like, oh my God, I'm now this, and so therefore I have to eat that, and they end up overeating things, and that's not a good thing, right? Just not a good thing, and it's possible to overeat anything. So, the one thing is, when I've been on this journey now 22 plus years, my brother Andrew said, Doug, if you weren't raw vegan, you'd weigh 300 pounds. Because I sometimes have a voracious appetite. Like, I'm very hungry and I love the way the food tastes, and I'm like, oh, it's all healthy. And, if I overeat, it's because of the seasonings or the dressings, not because of the food. I don't think anyone will overeat raw broccoli sprouts or raw clover sprouts or even raw garbanzo, because eventually, as you eat them, the brain will register and say, okay, enough, right? But if you were to add salt, oil, sugar to those things, the brain is like, oh my God, this is some good stuff. You don't know when you're going to get this stuff again. And you tend to overeat that even when you're not hungry. And I think that is a major contributing factor to overeating, obesity, etc. I will say you're much better off eating the fresh, raw stuff than you are the cooked, processed, refined things. So, that's what I would say.
Got you. And do you train? Are you physically active?
I run between 3 and 12 miles a day.
Oh, wow.
In the desert.
Are you training for anything? Do you race at all?
No, sometimes I go out and I'm on the phone or I'm listening to a podcast.
You just love to run.
No, I hate to run, but I just, like, if I'm out there, I want to, and I can, and someone is willing to tolerate being on the phone with me, while they're hearing the pavement pounding and things, I'll take it and I'll just keep going, because, like, sitting down, like, I really believe sitting is the new smoking.
Right.
So I want to be up, I want to be active, and I want to be running. But I do have a pull-up bar. and I do some push-ups here and there, and I do yoga for more flexibility. So to me, being flexible and the cardio is more paramount than all of my friends who are like buffed and built and other things. To me, like I'm not there. It's just not that important to me.
Got you. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I remember hearing the smoking, sitting is the new smoking a lot. And I feel as though just that stagnation, not just lymph flow, but blood flow, oxygen, everything, it's just so vital. And I feel like it's taken for granted because people will like hit the gym 3 times a week and that's it, but they're not actually moving throughout the day.
Yeah. No, you have to be active. I mean, being active is really key. So I'm active from that level. Now that I am aware that how much capacity I have during the course of a day, I tend to go to sleep earlier. So last night I went to bed very early. And as a result of going early, like I'm up at 4 a.m, right?
Right.
So that was great time. And so because I'm able to meditate, I'm able to be calm. So it's not disruptive. And like there's no anxiety. Like sometimes if I would get up at 4 a.m. and I don't want to be up until 5:30 or 6, like that would be like, oh my God, I can't fall back to sleep. And instead, like I lie there and I think about the things that are important, and I may stay straight up through it, or I may fall back to sleep. The worst thing to do is get on the phone. Like that is the worst thing.
100%. The phone is probably my biggest hurdle that I'm overcoming at the moment.
Well, good for you. You could do it.
Yeah, thank you. I actually bought, it's really awesome. It's over there. I'm not going to grab it, but it's like a lockbox. And I've been focusing as well on just having the mental strength to just say no when the time comes. But also for when I'm feeling weaker, I have this lockbox that I could lock the phone up if I'm feeling like I need a little support there. And it's actually been very beneficial because I don't really need my phone after a certain time. So I find that the sleep makes the eating and the digesting and the exercise all just flow. Like for me, it's the most rewarding thing to be able to do. And that's why I like to eat a lot more raw foods and eat the sprouts and stuff, because I feel nourished without feeling crazy stimulated.
Yeah, no, I think that's terrific. AJ, what else do you want to cover before we wrap up?
Let me see. I think we actually went through most of it. And I just want to ask one last thing. Are you still drinking green juices and stuff, or do you focus more on just eating the whole foods?
I mean, why I invented Juicero in the beginning was because making juice is difficult.
Yeah.
Sourcing the produce is difficult. Washing the produce is difficult. Cleaning the juicer. So we sprout and grow our own wheatgrass, and we'll juice that sometimes. But the days of me having, 1 or 2 cold pressed, organic, unsweetened green juice, on a daily basis are over. Like,
gotcha.
I'm just not there. I wish I could, but I'm not.
I'm completely with you. It's overwhelming. There's too much in the way of getting me that green juice. So, Doug, I want to thank you so much for making the time and coming on. I really appreciate your time. And I think people are going to find this to be really fascinating.
Hey, my pleasure, AJ. I'm glad we did it. Great initiative of you taking the time at your young age, getting a podcast out there, sharing information, meeting people. So keep doing what you're doing. It's great. And I hope this was helpful to you and your listeners. And
very helpful.
Just at Doug Evans on Instagram, or at Sproutarian, SPROUTARIN on TikTok. So I'm posting some TikToks.
Oh, great. I'll put it all down below for people watching on YouTube. They could just click the links.
And you could sign up for my newsletter on thesproutbook.com.
Perfect. Doug, I hope you have a great day. Thanks again.
My pleasure. You take care, AJ.
Everyone, stay hungry. Take care.